We've been joined by Ant Middleton, British war hero, former star of SAS on Channel 4. It was way better when you were doing it, by the way.
I agree.
We've got you on to defend our country against the American media that we're going to be doing in a moment. What is your view about this uniform issue?
With Harry?
Because obviously, just to be clear, if you are a veteran and you're not a serving member of the armed forces, you don't traditionally wear a uniform, right? It's only serving members of the military. But the Royals obviously have honorary positions, and as such, that's why they're allowed to wear them. Edward quit the Marines, but he gets to wear one because he's... and so on. The problem, it seemed here, was they made an exception for Andrew to wear his at one of the events. And I felt you couldn't possibly do that and not let Harry do the same.
Well, Andrew, it's controversial. You know, I don't really want to get into that debate because we all know, you know, our feelings and thoughts on that. But Harry served. You know, he was one of the lads. You know, he was heavily connected to the Special Forces. He actually presented me with my beret and belt when I got badged.
Did he?
Yeah, so I got badged, went to Paul, and himself and Prince Harry and Prince William were there, and they presented me with my beret and belt. And he was known to be one of the lads, and he served. He's been out to Afghanistan. He served, so rightly so, he should be allowed to wear his uniform. I have no problems with that. No matter what you think about him, you know, he deserves
I don't think
honour.
you can take away... You cannot begrudge him full respect for his military service. No. He did 2 tours of Afghanistan, and I would never begrudge him that at all. I've got other issues with him, but that's nothing to do with his military service, which was beyond reproach. Stay with me, Ant, because we've got to get into this big debate that's raging across the pond. Here, of course, we've been in national mourning. The queue to see the body of the late Queen is 4.9 miles long, stretching from Westminster Hall to well beyond Tower Bridge. If you join the line now, it'll take 8 hours to reach the front. And, of course, his outpouring of patriotic fervour is not unexpected here in Britain. Neither is the sight of the Royal Guards marching beside a coffin bedecked by the crown jewels, perched atop a velvet cushion. This is what we do. But does the pomp and pageantry burnish Britain's image as a nation of history and finesse? Or, as some people across the pond in America think, have we all gone slightly mad? Is it just pomp and pageantry hysteria? Well, political commentator and columnist Michael Luciano and journalist and author Ann Coulter join me from America, and I've obviously got the star. Well, he's the former star, but he was, to me, the star of SAS, Who Dares Wins, when it was a show worth watching.
I do the Australian show now, so there we go.
Yes, and it's excellent because you're on it. All right, Michael Luciano, you're a columnist over in America, and you think we've all lost our minds. Why?
Well, it's the year 2022, and you all still have a monarchy up there. It does not have the kind of political clout that it used to, which in a way makes it even weirder because the royal family serves no real actual function, and yet you just kind of keep them around. But so I would say, like, here in America, we've lost our minds even more because I understand all of the coverage of the Queen's death and the ascension of Charles. I get that from a UK perspective, but we here in the United States, for some reason, are also all in on the coverage of the royal family. And
well, I think it's buyer's remorse for getting rid of George III, isn't it? You know, you wish you'd never done that. You've had a series.
Piers,
let's be honest. You've had a lot of presidents, some of whom were great, and some of whom were complete turkeys. And each time you get a turkey, you think, you know what? Maybe we should have had George III and his bloodline and just carried on. You might have had King Piers by now if you played your cards, right?
Yeah, no, the whole reason we fought the revolution is so we wouldn't have to care about any of this stuff, and yet we're still caring about it, and the media is in total overdrive. George Washington is rolling over in his grave. In a way, I guess he's kind of...
Look, I can understand why some Americans don't get the concept of a monarchy. What I find really objectionable is what some American academics have been saying. So there's this woman called Uju Anya. She's actually an academic at Carnegie Mellon. She teaches people, this woman. And she tweeted this: I heard the chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating. This woman is an assistant professor teaching people. Another assistant professor in Rhode Island tweeted she would dance on the graves of every member of the royal family, especially hers, about the Queen. Now, Michael, this to me crosses a line. And I would feel the same if anyone in Britain said this about a president who just died. What is wrong with these people?
Well, you know, some people just have had different experiences with the Queen and the House of Windsor more broadly, going back to, you know, a few centuries. So I can't really speak to the experiences that they have had and their families and their ancestors have had with the British monarchy. It is not something I would have tweeted, but I am not going to pass judgment.
Really? You're not going to pass judgment? You're not going to say that you condemn that? You think it's not worthy of condemnation that somebody who teaches students in America says she wishes the Queen died of excruciating pain? Why wouldn't you condemn that?
Yeah. It's not something I would have said. It's not great. I don't know who that person is. I don't know what kind of clout they have.
Absolutely. Look, it's disgusting. Let's bring in Ann Coulter. And I think you like the pomp and pageantry of all the royals. I mean, so many Americans I know love it. They've been as obsessing about all this as we have. What's your view?
Well, I'm not quite an obsessive, but in response to Michael's point, I belong to an organization that celebrates my many, many ancestors who fought in the revolution that ended our connection to the monarchy. Yet and still, I don't want a monarchy here. Very proud of those ancestors of mine. But this is a country that did live under the monarchy for 176 years. I love the monarchy, not an obsessive. It costs less for Britain to have the monarchy than our National Endowment of the Arts and National Endowment of the Humanities. And I think you guys get a lot more out of the monarchy. I mean, the things they provide, I don't think it would be fun at all to be within the royalty. And I would recommend the wonderful movie Roman Holiday, which is a great movie, but really, really makes that point. It's a lot of work. They can't just, you know, poor Kate can never wear like a cut-off jean skirt and a crop top. She can't dress up all preppy. She has to look elegant and beautiful at all times, and she does. They all do. They are so elegant. They are role models, but I don't even think it would be a fun life, and they do it. And wow, do the tourists like it. And I really enjoyed the ceremony that was going on this past weekend. They kept cutting it away from it on MSNBC to talk about, you know, the evil history of colonialism. I would also add that the world was never so good as when the sun never set on the British Empire.
Also, the whole point about this colonial issue, let's bring in Ant Middleton again. The whole point, which a lot of Americans who are being severely critical of this Queen don't seem to understand, is that she took us out of this. You know, she was the one that helped preside over bringing us out of the empire, decolonized a lot of the, you know, the colonization. She should be applauded for this, not castigated and blamed for the sins of the past.
And that's what's ingrained in our DNA, that's what's ingrained in our blood, is where we are today. A lot of people want to go back a couple of centuries, and if that didn't happen a couple of centuries today, we wouldn't have the most open and welcoming society as we have today. You know,
when you see this
Queen is our grandmother.
She was
our grandmother.
When you see this academic who's teaching people, saying that she hopes that the Queen's pain was excruciating.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And how she ever thought that was acceptable in the first place.
Disgusting to say about anybody.
About anybody, let alone a 96-year-old respectable young lady like the Queen. How they get away with it is beyond me. It's a good job she's in America, not in the UK. That's all I can say.
I just find it's a kind of repellent behaviour, and she's a classic kind of woke academic. Let me bring back Michael here. Michael, is there any part of all this which you can look at and wish you'd had a bit of this in America?
No.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Because I tell you why. I think what we feel here, and I've had this chat with American friends, what we feel is that the difference between your system and ours, we obviously have a democratic system of electing prime ministers and governments in the same way that you do with presidents. It's the same kind of thing. But the point of the monarchy, if there is such a point, and you could simplify it, would be that we have this continuity above the democratic process. These are unelected people. Yes, it's hereditary, but they all understand what their job is. And their job is to act as kind of comforter-in-chief to the country in bad times. And they do it, when they do it well, incredibly well. This Queen brought huge comfort and solace to this country for 70 years. And it's that part of it, I wonder whether even if you don't agree with the idea of a monarchy, do you not sometimes wish that you had in America this kind of non-partisan, non-controversial family over the top of the politicians?
No. I have an innate aversion to hereditary aristocracy. I think the Brits, as well as the Americans, are hard-nosed enough to be able to do without such an aristocracy. And, you know, frankly, I regard the royal family as I regard the Kardashians here. I mean,
what?
They are famous for being famous. They're very wealthy. There are too many of them, and I try to avoid all mentions of them as much as humanly possible.
I mean, you did, just as a country, your immediate prior president was a TV star, reality TV star.
Yes, and I did not like that at all.
Right.
I did not like that at all.
So, I mean, your own democratic process is not exactly foolproof, is it?
No, it isn't. But, you know, at least we didn't elect the Kardashians. I'm not sure we did much better with Trump, but no, listen, I mean, the best thing Charles could do is to end the monarchy, and he would be, hands down, my favorite monarch.
Right, well, that's never going to happen. Ann Coulter,
could I say, I think the Kardashian point actually makes your point, Piers. He's right. I mean, that's our royalty? These utterly tacky, disgusting people. You have a beautiful monarchy. I think you do make a very good point about having a nonpartisan head of the country, though I agree with, I'm sorry, is it Michael or Matt?
Yeah, Michael, yeah.
Okay, I agree with Michael that I don't want a monarchy here, but, you know, I don't want bullfighting here. I do want it in Spain. It's part of what Britain is. And I think the colonies all owe Britain for the wonderful things Britain did to them, bringing indoor plumbing and railroads and educational institutions, and ending hideous practices like throwing the widow on the funeral pyre, getting the resources out, creating wealthy countries out of just third world hellholes. Oh, no. The reparations should be going back to Britain.
Do you know what? Maybe you should come over here and be a defender of Britain as your new full-time job.
I would like to. Could I also say something I really like about King Charles that I don't think gets mentioned enough? I mean, okay, global warming, blah, blah, blah. I wish he'd drop that. There are enough people covering global warming. We don't need him doing it. But one of the things I really, really, really strongly support, and especially having just recently been in London again, is his opposition to crap architecture and wanting to preserve the beautiful buildings and restore old buildings. London is such a beautiful city. I think it's the most beautiful city in the world. And you're going along seeing these old, gorgeous buildings. And there's some modern buildings that are cool and nice, but most of them are just pieces of crap that get thrown up. And he gets very little credit for that. He has excellent taste. I wish he would really hit that hard as king and save London from ugly architecture.
I never thought I'd say these words, but Britain salutes you, Ann Coulter. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Let's play a little bit of the anthem in tribute to Ann Coulter there. And just for Michael, just to annoy him. There he is. He's loving it, really. Look. He's feeling the stirring of his soul. There he is.
I will stand with you, Piers.
And by the way, I would stand as well for the American national anthem.
Absolutely.
Because when I'm in America and it's played there, because I believe you have a great system too. Michael, I appreciate you joining me. Ann Coulter,